Hi, I'm Sunithia Davis, a contracts manager on the Program Ops team. In this video, I'll be walking you through logging into JAMIS and entering requisitions. The learning objectives are identify core functions and responsibilities across teams. Clarify and distinguish the submission process steps for each procurement type. Identify documentation requirements for each procurement type. Adhere to vendor selection process and procedures. Organize, develop, and execute requisitions accurately. Identify the requisition approval process for supervisors. Clarify purchase order process. And identify the purchase order components and the roles and responsibilities across teams. Logging into JAMIS. JAMIS is compatible with all internet browsers except for Internet Explorer. If you're using a personal computer, log into the JAMIS site using your ASDO credentials. If you're using an ASDO assigned computer, click on the blue squared icon to automatically log in. Entering requisitions. On the left panel, select Purchases. Under Transactions, select My Requisitions. Each requisition submission will populate in the blank space for easy access, modifications, and tracking. To enter a new record, click on the plus sign icon. Before you start your submission, open the column configuration by clicking on the cabinet icon located on the left side of the requisition line. Filter all unused fields by dragging the selected columns from the right to the left side. This is an example of the correct list for the column configuration. Click OK to continue. In the description field, give a brief description of the requisition. For example, new contract, new exhibit, new MSA, or an amendment to the existing contract. Select Yes or No for the MSA and Amendments field. To enter the requisition line, click on the plus sign icon. After entering information into the requisition line below, you may hit the Tab key in each column to allow auto-population and movement to the next column. Remember, JAMIS is on a timer and will log you out of the system without notice. This will result in you having to re-enter the lost information. Please save frequently.
Hello, I'm Daphne Wilborn, a contracts manager on the Program Ops team. In this video, I will be walking you through breaking down the requisition columns, adding attachments, the procurement checklist, and vendor selection. On the Document Details tab, I will break down the columns, starting with Job. Job is also known as the project code. Enter the project code by typing in the search bar and hitting Enter, or by clicking on the magnifying glass to do a search. Next, Job Title. The job title is also known as the project code, which will automatically populate. Cost Element. The cost element is also known as the account code. Enter the cost element code by typing in the search bar and hitting Enter, or by clicking on the magnifying glass to do a search. The next three columns, Cost Element Description, Organization, and Organization Description, will all automatically populate. Inventory ID. Inventory ID is also known as the payment type. Here you will select from cost reimbursement, fixed price, or fee basis for your payment type. The next three columns, line type, inventory description, and UOM, will all automatically populate. For order quantity, always enter the number 1. This is a requirement for the system to allow you to save the contract amount as entered. Enter the contract amount for that project job code into the Established Unit Cost column. The Established Extension Cost column will automatically populate the same amount. Please note that for subawards, you will need to enter 2 rows, one row for the first $25,000 and a second row for any amount over $25,000. Also, the order quantity column must be set as 1 for each column. Please note that all automatically populated columns must remain the same, Any edits will interrupt the contracting process. And always remember to save frequently. Next, I will go over adding attachments, procurement checklist, and vendor selection. Adding attachments. To add an attachment, click on Files located at the top right-hand section of the page. Once opened, drag and drop your files into the blank box, or use the Browse option at the top to search for your files. When using the Browse option, remember to click Upload before closing the file box. Otherwise, your files will not upload. Materials checklist. For each procurement type, use this checklist to make sure all supporting documentation is attached to the requisition. This list may also be found in the Contract Requisitions SOP found on SharePoint. The amount varies for each procurement type. Requests for proposals, also known as RFPs, are equal to or greater than $100,000. Competitive bids are $10,001 to $99,999. No bids are up to $10,000, and sole source can be for any amount. Next, vendor selection. To select your vendor, click on the Bidding tab. Click on the magnifying glass next to the vendor field to bring up the vendor directory. Type the vendor's name into the search bar and hit Enter, or click on the magnifying glass to do a search. Select the vendor by double-clicking on the vendor's name or by clicking Select. The directory will only populate existing vendors. For new vendors, you must first submit the vendor information, including a Word document detailing the vendor's legal name, physical address, pragmatic and physical point of contacts, and the completed EFT and W-9 forms to be sent to accounting at accountspayable@astho.org. If there are multiple vendors under the same name, for example, the Department of Health, select the vendor with the address line that matches the vendor's information. Competitive bid and RFP process. For the initial submissions of competitive bids and RFPs, click on the Bidding tab. Click on the magnifying glass next to the vendor field to bring up the vendor directory. Type TBD into the search bar and choose the vendor listed as TBD Competitive Bid or TBD RFP. This TBD field is only for the initial requisition submissions for competitive bid and RFPs proposal reviews.
Hi, I'm Kim Dang, a contracts manager on the Program Ops team. In this video, I'll be walking you through selecting the work group, important notices, requisition approval workflow, and the MSA and amendment process. Selecting the work group. To select the work group, click on the Other Information tab. If you do not see the tab, click on the double arrow symbol. Select the DISC Direct Grants for contracts and subawards directly funded by a grant, DISC Direct Grants IT for IT-related contracts directly funded by a grant, DISC Indirect Non-Grant for contracts using an internal overhead code, DISC Indirect Non-Grant IT for IT-related contracts using an internal overhead code. Selecting an owner is not required. This is only needed when we need to reroute the approver. Important notice before you send your requisition for approval. Ensure that you have the following areas selected or filled out: the job code, cost element, inventory ID, MSA and amendment fields if applicable, order quantity, always select one for this, estimated unit cost, which is the contract amount, procurement documents are attached, use the paperclip symbol or files on top. Vendor information under the Bidding tab, and the work group under the Other Information tab. Requisition approval workflow. Once the requisition is taken off hold, the status should change to pending approval. Every project code has a default project manager, and the requisition will automatically route to that individual. The project manager will receive an automatic email notification to approve the requisition. To identify the approver, click on the Approval Details tab. MSA and Amendment Process. When submitting a new MSA, select Yes in the MSA field and select No in the amendment field, and type New MSA into the description field. When submitting an amendment to an existing MSA, select Yes for both the MSA and amendment fields. Type Amending MSA into the description field. When submitting an amendment to an existing exhibit, select Yes for both the MSA and amendment fields. Type Amending Exhibit Number into the description field. When submitting an amendment to a standalone contract, select No in the MSA field and select Yes in the amendment field. If you are submitting a new exhibit, select Yes for the MSA field and No for the amendment field, and type New Exhibit into the description field.
That concludes the presentation. Thank you for listening, and remember, any inquiries can be directed to the Contracts Team inbox at contracts@astho.org.